Hello and welcome to our brand new feature, the Pundits Preview. We're delighted to be joined by Norwich City fan, commentator, reporter and such on, Dan O'Hagan. Dan, how are you?
Good. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, no problem at all. I'd start by asking you what to expect from Norwich City. If we're a Huddersfield Town fan watching this, what should they expect on Saturday?
I'm not sure Norwich fans know what to expect. It's obviously coming off the back of a really tough season last year, a run of defeats. Again, lost the cup game to Luton the weekend with a much changed team as well. So I think the bottom line is no one knows what Norwich are going to be like this season. So many new players. It's a whole fresh start for the team. We know Daniel Farke's style is very open, very attractive football, but it's how soon those players gel and kind of buy into what Farke's trying to do again, because we know 2 years ago they were great and they won the league, playing some amazing stuff. But you wonder how that run of defeats and that bruising season last year will really affect Norwich going forward into the new season in the Championship.
That's what I was going to pick on, really. The relegation hangover almost. We have known it here at Huddersfield Town. Norwich come into this game, if I'm right, on the back of 12 consecutive defeats.
Yep.
Going into this game, especially with the Luton defeat on the back of that, that must really play on a mind.
I think Luton forget because they were missing, 15 players in terms of internationals and injuries. So just park that game. But yeah, I mean, to lose, 10 league games, 2 cup games in a row, it's bruising. And they will go into a game certainly needing a lift, needing a boost. Performances in pre-season in Germany were good. So I think they've certainly been, that will be good for them. But to lose to Luton, I think, in that first league game of the League Cup game, bruising. But I've no idea how they're going to start in the league. But fresh team, fresh start. And I guess 1 or 2 players who are still there from last season have points to prove.
Yeah, I can imagine them bringing in a plethora of new signings can make a real difference to the mindsets of the team. They know that the likes of Jordan Hugill, Kieran Dowell have come in and they will be vying straight away for a first team spot.
I think those 2 players, they know this league, which, as we know, 46 games, playing Saturday, Tuesday, it's difficult. And Hugill and Dowell, they've both begun well for Norwich. I think Hugill scored in his first friendly for the club. Dowell scored in the League Cup game at Luton, so both are going to hit the ground running. Both know this division, both know the English style and the demands of that. And it's how well the team around them kind of gel and bond. And don't forget as well, Teemu Pukki, last time in this division, the top scorer. So he knows this league as well. So it's a nice mix Norwich have got, but it's how soon that mix kind of bonds together and gels, and just how bad the hangover is from all those straight defeats and the manner of them, the way they came down, the manner they played kind of post the restart as well, post the COVID-19 stuff, when they seem to lack that kind of fight and cohesion to really make a real fist of the relegation battle. So it's interesting, but they have the tools. We'll see how those tools perform, when it all starts for real at the weekend.
You mentioned, obviously, Teemu Pukki. He was one of their standout players last season, but Max Aarons, Ben Godfrey, to name a few others. How important is it that they keep those players? Obviously, the transfer window is still open at the moment. Anything could happen. But for those players and for that team?
It is important. Obviously, they've lost Jamal Lewis to Newcastle.
Yeah.
I think they don't need to sell financially. I think Norwich could go with what they've got and not have to sell to kind of balance the books. But I'm sure if offers came in for Todd Cantwell, Buendia, Ben Godfrey, Max Aarons, these are guys who could go for, 15, 20, 25 million pounds, because they are very good, very attractive young players. But they don't need to sell. And obviously, if they keep those players together, it's a stronger group. But I think Norwich have maybe thought they will lose 1 or 2 more of them. So I'm sure that's been in Daniel Farke's thinking. It's why they've brought in the players they have to fill the gaps for players when they do move on. So I think 1 or 2 more will go before the window shuts, but we'll see who's in the team to play Huddersfield this week.
And we mentioned players coming in, but just delving more into that, there've been some really impressive signings, haven't they? One of the Polish left winger in particular.
Yeah. Przemysław Płakieta is the name.
I was going to say, I'll let you pronounce it.
Przemysław Pacheta. I mean, this guy is lightning. His pace will certainly cause teams problems. Obviously, in this league, he's unproven, but plays the Polish national team. He's been great in the Ekstraklasa, playing in the Polish domestic league. So yeah, we'll see how he does. It's always a risk bringing in players from overseas, but we've seen with Norwich and their recruitment with Stuart Webber at the club, there've been more hits than misses. And I think Pacheta is, if you like, their kind of big name or big player to bring in to kind of boost the squad this season. Maybe as Emi Buendia's long-term successor, who knows? But I think Pacheta will be a player to really excite teams and really give Norwich a real lift going forward this season.
And we've touched upon Kieran Dowell a little bit as well. He started on the right-hand side against Luton. Is that somewhere where you see him being? Because over the course of last season, during his two different loan spells, he was deeper.
Yes, he's obviously played with great natural ability and he can play a number of roles. I think with Daniel Farke's system, he does tend to move players around. We saw, I think, Todd Cantwell play either on the wide or behind the main striker last season. So he's not averse to, taking players and maybe take them out of their comfort zone and playing in positions which aren't entirely familiar with them. But yeah, I think Dowell, wherever he plays, he brings quality. So I think certainly he's a player that will give Norwich a massive shot in the arm this season because he's, as I say, a player who knows the demands of the EFL.
It's been a while since Huddersfield Town have faced Norwich. For fans that haven't seen them under Daniel Farke, what can they expect?
Excitement. I think they play great football. I think Norwich defensively give teams a chance, so it could be a game with goals this weekend. But I think certainly Daniel Farke's style is open, expansive. Think German football, which I see an awful lot of. I think you think of when they don't have the ball, there's a very aggressive press. When they have the ball, they move the ball quickly. They move the opposition quickly. So they're good to watch. A lot of touch players. I think Emi Buendia really summed that up last season and the year before, the way he plays with energy and little give and goes. So open, attractive, expansive, but give the opposition a chance.
And you said it just there. I was going to ask, what do the opposition have to do to kind of beat Norwich City, to get the worst out of them almost?
Break the press. If you can kind of fight fire with fire. We saw Norwich last season when teams were a bit more aggressive. They kind of found it tough. I think Norwich under Farke, they may be a bit too nice or were too nice, whether that's a lesson they've learned from last season, that you've got to be a bit more, you've got to have a bit more about you. In this league especially, you have to have a bit of devil and a bit of kind of grit. And I think that was missing last season in the Premier League, certainly. So I think to beat Norwich, if you maybe get in their faces a bit and they're pretty players, trying to knock them off their stride, then that may well work. But as I said earlier, it's a Norwich that we know nothing about in terms of their mindset before this new season, because had they responded from the way they came down, it's an interesting team to look at, and we'll see how they do respond.
Yeah, and just finally, obviously, there's no crowds still at this point in time. That affected Norwich, didn't it, a little bit? Not having that the crowd at Carrow Road, for example, behind them when the restart came back around. It's been a long period now without crowds. Do you think players won't feel the same without them?
I think they have to adapt to it. I mean, we don't know how long this is going to go on for. I think last season when Norwich came back, they, more than any other team in that Premier League last year, needed the crowd to kind of give them a kick. And it wasn't happening because they weren't there. So you look at the home game with Everton, I think the West Ham game as well. Games where there should have been a crowd to really give Norwich a jolt, and they just couldn't. And they couldn't lift themselves. So they have to go again now with a brand new season, with no crowds for now, and try and win games, without fans there. And it's difficult. I mean, now as spectators, commentators, journalists, we're all used to watching games without fans. But for the players, who for their whole careers have been lifted by people shouting their names and cheering their teams on, it's hard to get used to. And I think Norwich last year visibly suffered with the lack of fans, and we'll see if they've got used to it, when this season starts.
Yeah, it is very strange without supporters. in the ground, especially from our perspectives. Just finally, obviously, Norwich's aim this season to go straight back up.
Yeah, it has to be. I think the club's in a good place financially, but obviously they want to bounce back. I think they maybe have a point to prove after last season. I think they wouldn't do things if they went up this time the same as they did last season. But yeah, I think they have to bounce back. We'll see how many players they hang on to. But I think certainly the squad they have and the players they've brought in, Daniel Farke has the right toolbox now to win promotion again. Whether he can produce that magic, because don't forget, 2 years ago, they were brilliant. Farke's team were playing superb football. They were champions and deserved champions in a tough league that year. Whether he can do it again with a second team, if you like, because he'll lose players and it has to kind of build a new team to play his way, we'll see. But they'll certainly be among the favourites. But, you know, how often do we see favourites in this league not do well because this league is so unrelentingly hard?
Yeah, Dan, that's absolutely fantastic. Thank you for providing such a detailed insight into Norwich City.
No problem.